Hey, welcome to Mad Dog's After Show. You're cruising along with the Mad Dog and Cole, the Swedish speedster, Farrell.
I'm a real boy.
I decided to fly through the air and live in the sunlight and enjoy life as much as I could, and that's just what I'm doing.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm. Wait.
Man, welcome to episode 92. We have the amazing, we call him five-time Kyle Peters coming up. But first, we want to take a few minutes and be sure and thank our boys in blue. That's right, our first responders, our police, our medics, firemen. Thank you so much. We all appreciate you. We couldn't do this if we didn't have you covering us when we do dumb stuff. We also want to be sure and thank, with the greatest respect, our current U.S. service people all around the world, our veterans, and of course, the families of those MIA, KIA, and our POWs. Thank you so much. We appreciate everything you've done for us, and it's just fuel for us to just be free and put on this silly show. Of course, while we're thanking people, we want to be sure and thank our great partners and sponsors, Kicker Performance Audio. Find them online, kicker.com, on Instagram at Kicker Audio, on Facebook, Kicker, every other Tuesday night, 7:30 Central, live on their YouTube or their Facebook at Kicker Unmasked Live TV. Check them out for all your 12-volt personal audio needs. Premium audio, Kicker Performance Audio. Of course, Bomber Eyewear, Bomber Floating Eyewear, Bomber Safety Eyewear, bombereyewear.com, or on Instagram at Bomber Eyewear. I was out this week and on the boat, hitting the water. Was grateful jumping in and out to have my Bomber Floating Eyewear. And of course, I always wear the polarized safety lens. Keeps the bugs out, keeps the wind out. Jump in the water with them on. If they come off, which they rarely do, they float. Check them out. BomberEyewear.com. Of course, our man Cole over at the Premix Podcast, bringing all his passion for desert racing through the lens of a camera to you. Check him out on Instagram at the Premix Podcast. You can also book him for your MC or announcer needs for your events in 2025. Slide into his DMs on Instagram, the @ symbol TAGPREMIXPODCAST. He will be there. Hit him up. Of course, Kelsey Morel Film. Find her on Instagram at Kelsey Morel Film for anything you need from pre-production to post-production, whether it's stills, video, TV work, commercial work, whatever you need. Find her on Instagram, Kelsey Morel Film. All your social media needs and website needs, you can look up Hey Keeks over at Hey Keeks Marketing on Instagram or on the website, heykeeks.com, handling our social media and logo needs. She can take care of you, whatever you got. Just yell, Hey Keeks, or find her the easy way, heykeeks.com. Man, oh man, this has been a long time coming. You've heard the voice multiple times on this podcast over the last 2 years, but we finally get him. We call him five-time Mr. Kyle Peters. Dude, welcome.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. I'm pumped to be here. It's been a long time coming. Sorry about that, but happy to be here.
Hey, you're a busy guy, and life's everybody probably thinks, oh, well, he's got it easy. He goes out and wins championship in 3 months and then just kicks back. But I know, dude, you work and work out and train pretty much every day.
Yeah, pretty wide open. Off season comes. This past off season, I've really kind of took a role in Dad's business, learning the car business and kind of doing that sort of stuff with my neck. That doesn't really go very well in the heat, so usually summer take a little bit of time off, go to work, but still hammer the workouts on the bicycle in the gym. Still ride
Yeah.
couple times a month just to stay fit and ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And that business for all you people in North Carolina, right?
Yep, that's it.
Peter's Auto Mall.
Oh yeah.
Go meet the champ and the champ's dad. I mean, your dad, good Lord, dude. Great people. I love him like a brother. And your family, you are very blessed, as I am, to have an amazing, amazing and godly family.
Yeah, absolutely. Just having mom, dad, just my parents are incredible, sisters, my fiance, just the whole crew, it's a blessing to have such a great support system, and yeah, we're lucky to have them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get into some of that family stuff as we get along a little bit. But I want people, people, I love the dog. Speaking of the family, it's all good. It's all good. There's no boundaries here. Um, the, a lot of people know you, for Phoenix Honda, your pure domination. Um, in the Arenacross Championship Series, presented by Kicker Performance Audio, by
Oh
the
yeah.
way. 5 championships, but like, where where did all this start? Like, what pulled the pin, if you will? What lit the fuse?
Well, I guess the boss at Phoenix Honda would be David Eller. Um,
Yeah.
I rode for JGR for a couple of years. That kind of went away when the team did, and I called David and I was like, "Hey, let's do something." At this point, I was still full all in on Supercross, and he was like, "All right, cool. Like, I'm happy to do Supercross with you. You just have to race Arenacross." And I'm like, "Man, like, never." I honestly had never thought about doing Arenacross. And yeah, that's kind of how it all started. I was just training for Supercross and thought, hey, this will be awesome for the beginning of Supercross. Do a race Arenacross, get some gate drops, get my bike set up, get me ready, and come out swinging for Supercross. And that first year, I was able to win. I had some great competition that year, but I I really just found the love in it. It's almost like bringing back the glory days, the old days of amateur racing, the night track racing of, it's just a fully different vibe than Supercross. And it's more like family friendly. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with you there. And the vibe, I've talked about that in the past, where arena cross just has, because you're in a fishbowl usually,
Yeah.
it has this like energetic vibe. Yeah, it's crazy. And David Eller, what a great guy. David is another just class act guy, and been a great supporter of all kinds of off-road racing, quads, motorcycles, GNCC,
Oh yeah.
Supercross, Arena Cross, and all that. Um, but let's go way back. Let's jump in the time machine. Like where did the dirt bike thing start for Kyle Peters?
Man, I remember it very vividly. growing up, it was baseball, basketball. I guess it's too small to really play football, but I played all the sports. My dad never raced, still to this day, never really rode, like has ridden pit bikes, but never actually rode.
Right.
So um, my uncle used to race back in the day on my mom's side. So I had a few cousins that rode here and there, and they actually got pretty good as an amateur. But I was like, man, like I really want to ride. Like that, I see them ride. I see them kind of going around like, man, like that's what I want to do. And actually, funny enough, my dad took me to a Greensboro Arenacross when I was about 8 years old. And
Wow.
from that point on, I was hooked. Like, I have to do this.
Nice. So that's what lit the first fuse. Was how crazy is that it started for you with an arena cross race, and right now, I mean, you're I guess tied with the great buddy
Yep.
Antonez, right? And
Yep.
5-time champions and the only ones in the history of the world.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, come full circle. I actually have a photo of me at an arena cross. I'm guessing it was Greensboro. I was still really young on 50s, but it's like during autograph sessions, I'm sitting next to Jim Neese and Jim Chester. So
Nice.
really cool.
Oh, that's rad. So did you just start from there? Your dad got you 50 and away you went? Start on the
Yeah.
PW 50 or?
Yep. Santa came on Christmas morning with the PW. From that point on, rode around the yard, did some local night track racing, and really just kind of. My dad had no clue like which route to take, like how we did this, where do we do this, kind of sort of thing. So just worked our way through it. We would race. When I got a little bit older, we raced every single weekend. Didn't matter. He'd get off work early, pick me up from school, pin it to the track. I'd go ride, practice during the week a couple times, but we were racing every weekend, whether that was in Florida, drive down to wherever the fast guys were. That's what we wanted to do, was race the best. So yeah, from that point on, it was wide open. And he always told me, I'm not going to push you. Like, as long as you want to do this, cool. I'm with you, whatever you want to do, but you got to push this train. So that's what we did.
I would say Mr. Kevin Peters is a wise man, because he helped you not only follow your passion, but encouraged you and supported you. And I know the whole family did, but to this day, like, when he's not at a race, I'm like, what's wrong? What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So my whole career, amateur, pro, didn't matter, overseas, Australia, whatever I was doing. Dad's maybe missed 4 to 5 races my whole life. So
Yeah,
love having him there. He's a big supporter, him and my mom. So and I'm very blessed that he's been able to do that.
for sure. And you hit just barely on it there, but you have raced literally like all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, highlight some of those, because that's different than going to, like, whatever, one of the supercross races, in wherever, Florida or wherever you're going to race supercross. I mean, Oakland or the Coliseum or Anaheim. I mean, all over the world, it's a much different feel,
For
I would
sure.
guess, in other places.
Yep. Just this past year, I did the WSX in England, and then the series kind of got a little hairy. But raced in England, I raced in Belgium, all over in Germany. Lived in Australia for basically 2 years. racing there, Canada, just everywhere really. Trying to remember, but yeah, I've been super blessed, super lucky to travel the world and get to race dirt bikes.
Yeah, man, I mean, that's pretty cool. That is, I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty cool. Be able to just travel all over the world, literally. And how are the crowds different comparatively, like to say the American crowds, um, on the Supercross side, because you mostly raced like Supercross and outdoor in Europe and Australia, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So how are the crowds, like, is there a difference?
It's pretty similar, honestly. As far as like how many people show up, certain races, like really big races, and some of the European fans, the Australian fans, like maybe a little bit more wild,
Yeah.
uh, excluding like Redbud and places like that. But yeah, just it's such a high vibe. They don't have the racing like we have over here as often, I don't think. So when it does go over there, certain races and stuff, they really get pumped up about it. And it's really cool.
Oh, that's rad. Yeah, I was laughing about your Australian comment because I have some friends that are in Australia, and they I totally I've hung with them a fair amount, and I
Mhm.
totally get the wild vibe.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I heard a lot of stories. I of course started when I worked for Muzzy's. I started after his, World Superbike domination days and all that. But he had some Australian riders and raced in Australia, every year.
Yeah,
And so I've heard a lot of stories about that crowd, and being down there is different than being up here with them for sure.
yeah, absolutely. It was super cool. Like I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Yeah. So then you were, like you said, you were riding Supercross for JGR,
Mhm.
and that basically operations pretty much closed up, right?
Yeah.
And so then David, I mean, you don't just call David Eller. I'm guessing he was on your back at some point anyways, prior to that.
Yeah, we talked in the past for years leading up to it. Hadn't quite made a deal work yet, but yeah, when that ended, I kind of knew where I wanted to go. It was close to home base for me, anyways. It's Salisbury, so
Yep.
it's about 45 minutes away from the house. So yeah, that was kind of where I wanted to be, and thankfully he took me in and has treated me like family, and it's been wide open since.
Well, and you've taken care of the Phoenix Honda brand too, for sure. So
Trying to.
um yeah, you've represented them very well, I would say. Um
Thank you.
and you're a great person on top of, an incredibly talented rider and a champion. Um Generally, I would say a pretty humble guy.
Well,
Um
thank you.
and a good person on top of it. And that's, when it comes to someone to represent your business or your race team, you're the kind of people that people look for sure.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's been through a lot, and I I I don't let racing, moto, whatever you want to call it, kind of define me. Like it's not who I am. It's just what I do. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, racing. There's good days and bad days, and you take the good with the bad and just keep on living.
Yeah, and you know what? This last year, 23-24 season, and we're going to hit on this. I know you don't want to, but we are going to hit on this as we get a little further in. But you have like dealt with the good and the bad for sure. And but I think when you started, when I don't know if you started before I started traveling with the series. I don't think so, because I think you were teammates, if I remember right, with Jace Owen.
Yep, that was my first year.
Yeah, your first year, right?
Yep.
And I will not forget um, the pass in Guthrie, Oklahoma at the Lazy E Arena. And I don't know if you remember that, but it might have been the first arena cross race you won.
Um, I don't. I think I know what pass you're talking about, and I think it was in New Mexico, actually.
Was it?
I know
Okay.
Jason came together a couple of times in Guthrie.
Yeah.
But yeah, we raced hard.
You guys did race hard, and you know what? Kudos to you both. I mean, teammates. I may or may not have after a couple of those asked some team members how the ride back to the hotel was in the van, and just heard the simple response was quiet.
Yeah,
It's,
Jason's a great guy, a great
yeah.
competitor. And we both wanted to win. Like that's what we were there for. So we were willing to do whatever it took, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it made for great, on top of everything, great racing and great entertainment,
For sure.
I remember several of those situations that year, and it was like, oh, there's some competition here now. And to Jace's credit, was that 2 years ago when we did South Carolina, right down the street from you? Was that in
Yep.
Greensboro, right?
It was in Greensboro, North Carolina. Yeah.
North
Hometown
Carolina, yeah.
race, like born and raised in Greensboro, so it was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually Jace came out and raced that race, and it was and he was very competitive, but
Oh
it
yeah,
was good to see guys like throwing it down and going at it hard again. Um
definitely.
yeah, and I always appreciate that. I mean, you've had this ongoing um kind of battle with Bitterman,
Mhm.
and we've
Oh
talked
yeah,
about that a lot. And you know, we talked about last year how Bitterman actually had picked up some speed in the whoops
for
um
sure.
this last year. And I know those big whoops aren't necessarily your most favoritist of all things, but but that's all part of it.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Kyle's a great dude. I like Kyle a lot. We've had a ton of really, really good battles, and yeah, I really enjoy racing him.
Yeah, and it's always good and exciting, and you know I really enjoy and I'm grateful for the opportunity to see you guys race, and all the guys um for the most part race,
For sure.
and be able to be involved in the series, and you guys are all like my boys now, kind of. And so
Absolutely.
yeah, it's really cool. But so coming into this last year, the 23-24 season,
Mhm.
there's a lot of people who say, well, yeah, he wasn't challenged in the last 4 years or whatever, but those aren't the people that were at the track. Like
Yeah,
and maybe they're not even racers, as an old racer, every time you get to the racetrack, it's a challenge no matter what, right? I mean,
absolutely. Yeah,
just getting out there and putting in laps is a challenge to begin with.
for sure. Absolutely. Yeah,
And what you guys do, I mean, people a lot of times don't realize the kind of speed you're carrying in very small, tight spaces. And clearing doubles in places where, like, I wouldn't hit a single there, and you guys are jacking doubles like they're nothing. And it's like some of that stuff, I'm just like, holy cow, these guys are just crazy.
For sure. TV never does it justice. Never shows how gnarly the track gets or how tight it is. You really got to be there to see for yourself.
Yeah, and hopefully more and more people will continue to come out and watch it, because there is not, in my opinion, not another motorcycle, at least moto race series, that has that much action everywhere,
Yeah.
whether it's banging bars and slinging elbows in the front 2 or 3 or 4, or the guy that just made the pro class that's casing the rhythm section every trip around. It's like I mean, there's action everywhere. All you got to do is look for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. From the guys running up front to the guys in the back, there's always something going on.
Yeah, for sure. And coming into the 23-24 season, this is I feel like this was a real, not just getting the 5th championship, but the way you earned it, and the things you had to come through to get there. And in my opinion, some of maybe less than clean riding situations you had to persevere through to get to the championship is real. I think this 23-24 year was a real foot stomp statement for Kyle Peters, in my opinion.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was definitely the hardest. Not just like on the track. There was a few things going on off the track that just made everything very difficult. I just wasn't. There's so many different things that you can have excuses for, and blah blah blah, but just it was really tough. I just wasn't really clicking with certain things, and even kind of from the start, just struggled a little bit bike setup, but just more me than anything. And then there's years that come and it's like super easy, everything goes the right way,
Right.
and everything's just kind of goes to plan, and it's easy. And then last year it was like I kept crashing in heat races, and I'm just like crashing the main. I'm like, what is going on? And like, if you don't make it in the first 2 of the heat race, you're on the back row for the first main, and it's like, oh no, like worst case scenario. So there was definitely a lot of times that I was like, man, like just kicking myself in the butt. Just what am I doing? But we got through it. Looking forward to a much better year.
Yeah, well, and for all those listeners that don't know this part, you jump back into arena cross in pursuit of the championship first weekend of December 2023, after what, 9 months after breaking your neck?
Yeah, so I broke my neck April 9th. And then we were in Albany, Georgia, I think first weekend of December. Yeah.
No, Boise.
Oh, this past year.
Yeah. So has it been a year and a half, 2 years now almost?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it would have been the 22-23 season. And
yeah, okay.
season went great.
Yeah.
It was like I couldn't really make a misstep. Like it was just starts were coming easy. I was flowing with the tracks. I was able to like maneuver through the pack really well. Where this year, like I felt I caught myself getting into some people and people getting into me, and then just not really, just didn't really click. But
Yeah.
that's racing. So
But that also puts an exclamation point on, in my opinion, on the 5th championship. Is it wasn't, things weren't flowing, things weren't easy.
yeah,
I know, talking to you, talking to Rob, talking to your dad, um, you know, I mean, consulting with your dad every week, basically,
yep,
and there was a lot of other factors that were involved there too. I mean, like I said, like when you have hardware in your neck, you only ever recover so much, right? I mean,
for
that's,
sure.
I've had mine in, I don't know, for 18 years.
Yeah,
And, you forget about it um, after a while, but I'm also not jumping dirt bikes and riding dirt bikes for a living, So for, I mean, a lot of our listeners don't realize, you came back and won a championship fresh off a broken neck and then backed it up in a tough season
Mhm.
with, like, man, races like Guthrie, both weekends of Guthrie where he had the flu
Yeah,
and you know we talked a little bit, like, when we covered Guthrie this year in the podcast. I was like, he's uh we actually, honestly, we spent more time talking about the 450 switch
yep,
than we did, but I did make mention that you weren't feeling that great, and you starting off first of the year, even, you know not, I don't want to take anything away from Ryan Brees. I mean, he's fast.
for
you
sure,
know
absolutely,
that they had that Yamaha tuned up, um and eventually it ended up being no match for Kyle in the Honda, for sure. But you know it there's a lot of things, and looking back, watching the whole season and being through the whole season, I'm like, oh, well, that could have been a pivotal point. That could have been a pivotal point. But just last season, I mean, you guys were back and forth all the time.
for sure,
Um, he was riding uh, I don't want to call it an unfair advantage, but he's a bigger guy than you.
for sure.
Um, he certainly got you in weight, you know. and and if he listens, too bad. It. Look in the mirror. Um, Shame on me. But but no, he was riding a 450 and you were on the 250. And the 450 is great at starts.
Yeah, it was very, very hard to compete on the start. Elevation as well. We had a lot of races at elevation,
Yeah,
but no excuse. Like I tried everything I could. I gave it all.
yeah,
And yeah, he was riding great.
yeah. I think I think he did a good job. I think when the pressure started to come on, and I would say the real pressure for me, like in the battle for the championship and whatnot, started with the Daytona triples.
Yeah, the Daytona 1 was very rough. Um, didn't make it through the heat race. Got put into the wall in the semi. Ended up breaking my thumb. Um, barely, by the God's grace, got it through the LCQ into the mains, and just survival through the mains. And then Daytona 2, somehow just had a good weekend. I think I went 1-2 that weekend, and that was the wildest arena cross I think I've ever been. That wasn't a mud race, but yeah, it was crazy, man. Daytona. I know the fans loved it. I think all the riders hated it.
I'm sure maybe Isaiah Clark liked it.
There's a few guys that probably liked it, that did well, but everyone else hated it.
We had Isaiah on after he won his first main,
Yeah.
and he was like, yeah, I don't care, I just want a moto. But um, none of you guys, are old enough. I don't even know if arena cross has ever ran on pure sand.
Yeah, I don't think people understand how sandy and how deep and how gnarly it was. It was just complete beach sand that was wet, that just stuck in everyone's radiators, and bikes were overheating like crazy. If it wasn't for my team being at Daytona 1, my bike would not have lasted in Main 2. Main 1, it got completely blocked. The radiators got completely blocked, overheated, like super gnarly. Got back to the truck, team worked their butts off. New radiators, filled it all the way back up with coolant, flushed the coolant. Um, yeah, if it wasn't for them, I don't think.
New
I don't think it
new
would've made it.
tires, I think. I even saw new tires going on between.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I was in so much pain. I was just let me get through this. I'm do what I can, and yeah,
Yeah, no, it was gnarly, and we actually talked about that and how bad it was, um, and how nobody really cared for the sand. Um, a lot of people don't realize, I've ridden in sand, and I've done a lot of four-wheel stuff in the sand, and
oh yeah,
Cole has ridden in the sand a lot, but he rode a KX 500. So, um, he's got the unfair advantage of the girth to be able to hold down a KX 500. Uh,
yeah,
but, and he's done a lot of, stunt driving and stuff in the sand also in four-wheel vehicles. And a lot of people don't realize just the drag, the horsepower drain, the extra. It's just hard to explain, like the extra drag on the motor, um, just trying to turn the wheels in the sand.
for sure. Yeah, it was like we just couldn't really get up to speed either, so that made it even harder. Trying to make a super tight sand corner and stay within the hay bales, where it was tough.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was tougher. First, I think in the first main they blew up 3 motors, if I remember right.
There was a lot of bikes overheating. A lot of bikes did make it. So
Yeah, no, I distinctively remember, even in the heats in the semis, um, guys overheating and bikes shutting down because they're too hot. And
yeah,
even in qualifying, and I think we talked about this after Daytona 1, I think it was, where actually Bitterman set the fast speed, and like the next lap the rod exited the block.
oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and it was like, wow, it's just a testament to how tough those conditions were on the equipment. But then on the rider, like, I don't think we talked about how hard it is on the rider, muscling the bike around lap after lap, let alone with a broken thumb, which never got out in the news either.
Yeah, definitely. It was just one of those things you got to tough through. I didn't want it really to get out, just for the simple fact of no one thinking I was hurt, kind of
Right.
thing. You know, you don't never show weakness,
Right.
but yeah, we got through it, and the Lord got us through, and I had a lot of doctors helping me out. Fiance was over here massaging it, making sure it everything got loosened up, blood flow, and yeah, so good support system.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, and I'll go to Daytona too in a second, but I remember at the end of that night, uh, your mom, God bless her, was like, "Do you know where there's any ice?" And
No,
I'm like, "Oh yeah, they just went by with a cooler full, um, and I happen to have like a couple of like Walmart grocery bags or something." I'm like, "Here you go." And she's like, "Oh, Kyle hurt his thumb, and I came to check on you after and say goodnight to everybody." And Kyle, I'll tell you, folks, Kyle was not talkative.
no, definitely wasn't super stoked after that. It was a really rough night. Um, really just wanted to get out of there, go home,
Yeah,
and
totally
get ready.
understandable. But the other side of that is, um, for race two the following weekend, was that it was the following weekend we did two more, right?
Yep.
And so for race two and three, you guys came back, and a lot of you riders, not just, I mean, you guys came back obviously with force, right? I mean, you came
Yeah.
back knowing what you were getting into and ready to crush it. And kudos to your team, Rob, the whole crew that got you to the point where the bike was actually rideable. And there wasn't very many of you guys that figured out how to ride it by the second race and the third race, or how to make the best of it, maybe I should say.
Yeah. I mean, going there, no one knew it was going to be sandy. I just kind of figured it'd be a normal arena cross.
Right.
So very unexpected. Didn't have the right parts, equipment. Didn't have just very caught off guard. I think majority of us were showing up that first round. So weekend two, we knew what to expect. We knew it was going to be gnarly. How bikes were going to be tough. So yeah, thankfully the team got everything ready, got geared up, got me ready, got the bike ready, and off we went.
Yeah. Yeah. And you did, two and three went off basically, no more injuries. And I know you came out of the Daytona Triple, not when we got to, what was the next one after that? I would have to look it up. I don't remember now.
I think it went straight to Vegas, didn't it? From Daytona?
Did we? Oh, there was supposed to be another one, might be, but you weren't coming out of Daytona 2 and 3. Like, you weren't necessarily the happiest of guys, you know. But all anybody in the top, realistically, any guys in the top 3 or 4 weren't very happy coming out of Daytona 1, 2, 3. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely right. It was not I mean, it was just very kind of a wrench thrown into the plan of our series, you know. We were all
yeah,
fighting points. It was getting really close. And then it was just like, whoa, what is this? So it was something that I don't think any of us expected, but we all had to race it. We all raced it. And thankfully had a rough weekend round one, but the doubleheader the second weekend seemed to be a lot better.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that, that speaks to the championship focus also, and we talked all year, we recap every race, throughout the year on the podcast. And one thing I've talked about often is how cerebral Kyle Peters is when he rides. Because there is times where you're like, okay, bigger picture,
For sure.
you see the bigger picture. I'm good here in whatever second or third, or I got the points I need to stay where I need to be to continue to move forward towards that championship. And a lot of guys don't see that. A lot of guys get in that situation and start to panic ride.
For sure.
And that's when you have even worse situations. So
yeah, absolutely. There are definitely times it's like, all right, bigger picture. There's a lot of pressure to get this fifth one. So it was just kind of championship mode, really kind of from a couple rounds in, and just manage it. Not really what I like to do, but
right.
It's I want to go out there, give it my all every time and win. But bigger picture, we got it done now. So all good.
Yeah, and then I guess we probably did. I haven't pulled my calendar up, but off to Vegas for the championship weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now when did you win? Was that round 2 or round 3? You went in Daytona, you went 1-2 or 1-1?
I believe it was 1-2. I believe it was round 3 at Daytona. The second one at Daytona, I believe I went like 1-4 or something.
Yeah.
I ended up crashing, tipping over, and then had to come back. So yeah.
There was one of those you ended up starting, and we talked about this. You ended up starting the back row, and Reese was out in the front row, conveniently, and you got about halfway through the race, got up and got clear in second, and man, you just started. I watched you do this 2 or 3 times last year, and it's like you just chill, put your head down, and just cream. And there's nothing like what you did in Vegas. I mean, dude, that was so exciting to watch. I was standing up top watching the race with Akon, and Brees had a pretty healthy lead. I think that was the first main. And I think he put like a block pass or a rough pass on you and knocked you back a ways, and you started hunting back. And I think that was in Vegas. They all blend together for me, but
They do.
Man, you put your head down, you got cruising, got the feel, put your head down, and I am a mental lap counter time wise and segment wise from back in my days, and then as my days as a crew chief, like segments were everything, right? That's how you. So I'm like always counting in my head, and I looked over at Akon. I'm like, "Hey, dude, he's made the fish," and I'm like, "He's reeling him in," and he's like, "It looks like it." I said, "Nah, he is. He's picking him up." I said, something's going to happen here. And you made a pretty aggressive, especially for Kyle Peters, a pretty aggressive bump block pass that stalled him basically going into the whoops. And the arena went nuts, dude.
Yeah, so that was actually the heat race.
Was that in the heat? Okay.
That was in the heat race in Vegas. Yeah, it was a great race.
Yeah.
Kind of back and forth a little bit. And yeah, saw opening, had to take it because I knew Vegas. It was start was short and it was very important to be on the inside. So yeah,
Yeah, that was so exciting. And then, pushing on to the second main, the end of the second main. I know that, in talking to Rob, I think between mains, it was like I knew where you had to finish
Mhm.
to be able to win. And, I saw like when you hit, I think it was fifth place.
Yeah.
I saw either your dad or Rob holding out, the 5 and let you know you're there. And to your testament, you still kept knocking people off. Like you didn't slow down. You didn't go, okay, I've got it. I'm just going to coast here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you let up at all, dude.
Yeah, no, just that's one of the main important things is you can when you get to that point of like, all right, I'm gonna back off here, your mind can kind of wander, and that's kind of when things can happen. So my main thing was stay present, stay where one lap at a time, just do what I know how to do. Don't do anything stupid, but like go race, go have fun, and click off some laps. So I knew I had really good spots in Vegas. I felt really good on the track, and yeah, we were able to get it done.
Yeah. And it's, you know what, for me, and I talked about this on our season recap and Vegas recap. Um, what an honor it was for me, not only to see you win the fifth championship and me knowing what you went through all season with the flu, with the broken thumb, allegedly broken thumb, now admitted open thumb, broken thumb. But and just um the sand and tough starts and getting caught up in messes and inverted starts, which I don't think any top 5 liked at all. um I will, to their credit, or them being Arena Cross, to their credit, the inverted starts is exciting for the fans.
Yeah, that's for the fans. I get it.
Yeah.
I understand why they do it. For as a rider,
It sucks.
it sucks. Yeah,
Yeah.
it adds a lot more danger to already a dangerous sport. So I'm not a
Yeah.
fan of it, but as far as a fan, a series, I get it.
Right. And I've dealt with that in the past as a crew chief, where some of the tracks that we raced at when I was doing circle track racing and go-karts, they would pick,
Mhm.
and we could have, we could have top 2. We could set the pole for the night, and they'd oh, we're gonna pick. Okay, it's gonna be top 6. Oh, it's gonna be top 8 inversion, or top 4 inversion. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Now in karting, I did work with a driver that couldn't run by himself.
Okay.
And so he always qualified mid pack. He would go out and turn the fastest laps of the race, but he could not run by himself. The only way he could run by himself was slow.
Well,
So,
you know, race is what matters. So you
yeah.
better be bad in qualifying and good in the race.
Yeah, it's well, I happen to be where I was going with all that before I got distracted was, um, when you came, the last, I think, probably 3 or 4 laps of the race in Vegas, um, I was down on the floor
Mhm.
and watching your dad, watching your mom. Well, your mom, she wasn't down there yet. I think she was still back in the hallway somewhere because I know she likes to hide when you're racing.
Yeah, she hangs out where she can't see and just prays. So the
Yeah,
whole time she's always done that my whole career. So
we, yeah, I've got to talk to her a few times and during the races because a lot of times I don't get the opportunity to get out there. Um,
yeah,
but Vegas, being the championship round, um, it was a couple of notable things for me was, when you took the checkered flag, I mean, you knew at that point, I think you looked at the board and you already knew you were in a position to win the championship.
yeah,
Um, Man, you came off the track. You did, I don't know, maybe 2 cool down victory laps. The fans were going crazy. I was down on the floor. You came off the track, and one of the coolest things for me was you drove right up to my razor or the
Mhm.
kicker razor and just did this monster burnout right against front tire.
Yeah,
And I was like, man, I was yelling and clapping, and I'm supposed to be all composed and all this, but no, that was super cool. Um, and then you know, you and your fiance kneeled down and said a prayer before
yep,
you addressed anybody, and that was a seriously class act. And I've told you, you know, time and time again, um, in person, how much I respect your stand and your beliefs. And, that was a really touching moment. Like,
thank you.
it
Yeah,
was incredible, really. And then it went crazy,
yeah, for
right?
sure. Yeah, we're very strong in our faith, and that was a very trying season. Um, so you know, give it all to the Lord. And there was multiple races where I'm like, listen, Lord, like I'm trying, but whatever your will is, like it is what it is. I give it to you. Like that's all I can
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that was awesome. And then yeah, crossing the finish line, just having all the weight lifted off, getting it done. It was a great night.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it was great. The team was there, David was there,
Mhm.
the big family hugs, and I was blessed enough to be right there and get in on a hug and
Absolutely.
you know, I mean, it was great. I think the first hug I got was from your dad. And, it was like it was really awesome. And, for me, something I will never forget was this is the first time in 6 years of traveling with the series where it's worked out where I've been able to uh, present the championship trophy. I mean, we've been title sponsor for 20 years,
Yeah.
and the 23-24 season was the first time one of us actually got to present the trophy to the champion.
That's awesome.
And dude, I'll tell you, I'm still like emotional about it because it's like I can't even explain it for me. I was so proud of you knowing how hard you worked and what you had to come through that maybe the other competitors and fans didn't know what you had to get through to get there, to be on the top step and get that trophy. And it was a real blessing. It's something I will never forget. It's in one of my top moments. And, I've been fortunate enough to collect a lot of trophies and some championship trophies, but this was the first time I ever got to hand one out.
Yeah.
And dude, it was incredibly special for me. And I want to thank you for your perseverance and pursuing the winning outcome this year. Because you've become a good friend, and it was really an honor to present you with the championship trophy, let alone the 5th.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Definitely. I would blessed to have you there at all 5. You've been at every one. So it's been really cool to get to know you, become really good friends, and yeah, to have you present the trophy last year or this year was awesome.
Yeah, it was cool, and I'm literally, honestly, like choked up thinking about it, and it means a lot to me. And another part of that is, um, how much your family, your dad, and your mom, your fiance, even sisters. I mean, your whole family has kind of welcomed me into your family, and yeah, I love your dad and mom, and you know your dad and I often back somewhere, outside or
Oh yeah,
out around the corner, we're saying a prayer together before the races, and
for
and
sure.
that means a lot to me too, so I'm so grateful. And
That's
man,
awesome. No, I know he thinks a lot of you as well. He appreciates it,
you're
everything you've done. So it's been really cool.
you're now you're okay. So I'm not going to look for any like big news or any unforeseen news or anything like that. But obviously still Phoenix Honda.
Yeah, yeah. As long as the boss will let me go race, I'm there. So whatever he says goes.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, um, man, I know we're like a couple of months from starting the season, so
Yeah,
it's I'm sure you're working your butt off, and I'm really looking forward to being back at it.
absolutely. Yeah.
What are your, like, for you being a 5-time champion now, um, in what I consider some of the toughest motor racing out there? I mean, it's not Erzberg, right?
Yeah.
But it's, often, what do we have on the main gates now? 14 or
Uh,
16?
it's 14. Yeah, 14.
Yeah. So it's like you're cutting elbows and foot pegs with 14 guys in what, 14 times in 16 weekends or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty close to it.
It was a long season. It took a lot out of us for sure. But yeah, it was cool.
But now, as a 5-time champion, how's your off season? What's your approach? Um, like, I think I know the answer to this, but is it like, you know, what's your approach to the next season or the next season or anything like that?
nothing changes. It's business as usual. Every year you train a little bit harder, you work a little bit harder to keep up, and you do everything that you can to go out there and get the job done. And that's what it is. We I I train super hard throughout the year, especially coming into the season. It's boot camp, and we're wide open. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, and it really pays off too, because, I mean, obviously you're a 5-time champion, but the other thing, when you ran the 450,
Mhm.
you really hadn't ridden a 450 much.
No, the last time I had ridden a 450 would have been 2017. So
Yeah.
yeah, no time on it, a week really. So probably wasn't the smartest move. Just thinking back, I didn't really have it set up the way I wanted it to. So that hurt me. And then, yeah, it was, 450 is a big bike. It's got a lot of power.
But and we talked about this, I observed this, like your training, your conditioning, your mental power,
Mm.
even on the 450, like, you didn't look comfortable to begin with, but it really, in my opinion, didn't take you long to get speedy.
Yeah, that's with the team as well. They helped with that. So it definitely wasn't very comfortable to start off with. But it definitely did come around a little bit. I only raced it, I think, 3 races last
Yep.
year, 2 of them being in Daytona, the one in
Right.
So yeah, it was cool. It was cool to try, just to see kind of what would change, what if I could do it more or less.
Right.
But yeah, it all worked out. And here we are. So
Yeah. So how has your life changed much? I mean, you win a 5th championship.
yep.
Like, okay, so here's Kyle Peters, 5-time. What are you gonna do in the off season? I'm gonna go work for my dad at the car lot, right at the
Yep.
dealership. Uh, I mean, it's kind of switching gears pretty quick there.
Yeah, for sure. It's I've always worked there a little bit during the summer, but yeah, won the 5th. Kept training, did Philly Supercross. Had a lot of fun doing another Supercross around.
Yeah.
But yeah, just stayed fit. Tried to get a little stronger in the gym. Been riding, so it's
So
those days are behind us. On to bigger and better.
it's pretty much okay. Here we go. Ready for another. We got to get ready for another season. Like
That's it.
starting every year at ground zero.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, it's last year doesn't matter. Eyes forward. We're on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, incredible. That's awesome. Yeah, what a great approach too. And you see that. I mean, honestly, we talk about this a lot, um, because we talked about it a fair amount this last year because you ended up getting dirty on the ground more times this last year than you had probably in the last 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, it's just one of those things, right? When there's no flow, when something doesn't feel right, or there's no flow, or something's just not comfortable, that kind of stuff happens. But the big difference to me is when you see somebody, with the exception of Bitterman face planting into the rhythm section, um, which was weren't you guys right beside each other when that happened?
Yeah, it was one of the last corners, last lap. I was trying to make the pass, ran it in on him. He was expecting me to run it in even like harder, so he like
Yeah.
really kind of leaned on me. Ended up completely tangled together going off the jump. Yeah, somehow I saved it. I have no clue how, and he unfortunately went down. So that's
Yeah. You could almost see that, like when I watched it, it was like you didn't go as deep as he expected, and he started to kind of like change his line a little bit, because it's like, oh, he's not that deep. I'm gonna take some of that real estate, and the back tire looked like it slipped, and then you guys are together, and then he's splat
yeah,
into the face and gets up and finishes third. But that was he. He's been down a few times, and usually he's pretty good at getting up. But when you were down, the way, like, your mental recovery on the bike is so fast. Um, Makes such a huge difference. So many guys we've seen, and we saw this a lot last year. Um, Guys that go down, heat race, semi, main, whatever, get up, and you know, in the next set of whoops, or the next rhythm section, it's whiskey throttle to the ground again, because they mentally didn't control the anxiety, if you will, or the angst. You know, I'm guilty of that. But you have something that I haven't seen in arena cross, and that's like you get up, and it's like click, we're back in ride mode. We're not panicking, and that's pretty amazing, really.
thank you. Yeah, something that we work on. I do a lot of mental work, so it's the past is the past. You got to be present in what you're doing, and can't think too far ahead. But yeah, got to be where your feet are.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. Be where your feet are. Makes
Mhm.
good sense. Well, I know it's getting late your time. We're up on time. Kyle, man, thank you so much for jumping on. And before we go, two things. You got to hit all your sponsors and partners, and then you have to have your special shout outs,
No,
and then a final word. So
cool. I really appreciate you having me on. I know it's been a long time coming, so thank you again for having me.
absolutely.
Yeah, got to give it up to the whole support system, parents, sisters, everyone there, my fiance. Shout out to the dog, you saw her earlier.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, the whole Phoenix Racing Honda team, Serious Race Fair, Pristine Auction, Moose, Alpine Stars, CTI knee braces. There's so many people that make this happen, and honestly, there's such a long list. Thank all you guys. Yeah, just excited for what's to come, and keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. And great shout outs, and pretty good job covering all your spot. I don't have a picture up. A lot of times I'll pull a picture up, but I don't have one up. I've been so caught up in your stories. I really appreciate you being on. I know it's getting late your time, and we have been trying to do this for quite a while. Thank you for jumping on. Um, any parting statements, final words?
All good here. Just yeah, thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.
For sure. Absolutely. Thank you, Kyle. We appreciate you. Hopefully, I'll see you here in a couple of months, brother.
Sounds good, man. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
You bet. Wow. Just, I mean, from the, PW50 under the Christmas tree to a 5-time AMA Arena Cross Championship champion, and such a great attitude. what a great guy. Really, really do love Kyle and his family, and we're very blessed to have him on. Speaking of very blessed, we're very blessed to have great partners and sponsors like Kicker Performance Audio. You can find them online, kicker.com, on Instagram at Kicker Audio, on Facebook, Kicker, every other Tuesday night live on their Kicker Unmasked TV show, on their YouTube channel, or on Facebook. Of course, Bomber Eyewear, Bomber Safety Eyewear, Bomber Floating Eyewear. Find them online, bombereyewear.com, or on Instagram at Bomber Eyewear. The Premix Podcast, and our dude Cole doing his thing, sharing his love for all things desert racing through the lens of a camera. Hit him up on Instagram, the at symbol ThePremixPodcast. Slide into his DMs at the Premix Podcast. Get him lined up to get some shots of your desert racer at the next race he's going to be at, or slide in there and get him booked to MC or announce your 2025 event. Of course, Kelsey Morrell Film working all the wonders to get us on the miracle of YouTube, on our YouTube channel, MAddOG Media. All the incredible audio, video correction, and production. Compliments of Kelsey Morrell Film. Find her on Instagram at Kelsey Morrell Film. Of course, our social media templates, logos, and all the cool stuff you see on social media is, of course, Hey Keeks Marketing. And you know, she can do anything from social media influencer campaigns to building social media sites to building your entire website. Whatever you need help, yell, Hey Keeks. Or look her up on Instagram at Hey Keeks Marketing, or the webs at heykeeks.com.
Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite streaming platform.
That beautiful voice. Cole, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You bet. How much fun was that?
I mean, I've never gotten to be a part of something where we talk 5-time Arenacross Championships and KX 500s in the same sentence. So that was just fantastic.
Pretty rad. With that, God bless our troops. God bless our veterans. God bless our first responders. God bless our podcast. God bless America. MAddOG out.